I'm sorry, am I boring the members opposite? Do they want to pop back out to the Prime Minister's office and have some drinks instead of listening to the important cases being put in this debate? They care so little.
That's again the amazing SNP MP Alison Thewliss for the second time, exposing how cruel the Tories really are in one day about the ridiculous Safety of Rwanda Bill. Now, if you think that's the peak of Alison's ire towards the callous Tories, no, Alison was just warming up. Go get 'em, Tiger.
And I rise again on the this awful bill to put the SNP's opposition to it on record. We do not support the state-sponsored people trafficking bill on Rwanda, and we will oppose it in any way that we can. And I must say I was quite disappointed to hear the Labour Lords caving on the Afghan amendment through in the Lord. And if they think that this is some kind of concession, I've got some magic beans to sell them, honestly, it's pathetic. And the journalist from The Independent, who has done so much work to expose the weaknesses of the government's Afghan schemes, she says, Holly Bancroft says, this review is already happening and it's only for Afghans with links to specialist units. The Home Office is saying they won't deport the triples granted leave to remain in the UK by the MOD who came here irregularly, but the number of people in this situation will be very small.
Hear, hear.
Before I came into the chamber, I was phoned by Councillor Abdul Bastani of Glasgow Afghan United because he wanted to know what was happening in this place and he wanted to know what protections there will be for the Afghans that he is in constant contact with. He wants to know what happens to the journalists, what happens to the interpreters, what happens to the women and children, the people who put their lives in danger to safeguard the UK's mission in Afghanistan, to their children, to their families. He says those people who are the UK left behind, he says nobody is listening to them, nobody is replying. The safe and legal routes are not there. I will give way.
I make this point for I want it recorded and answered. It's very important. My constituent Trevor Young worked for the British Army in Afghanistan. Alongside him worked his comrade and his friend in Afghani, who happens to be in Pakistan because he had to leave Afghanistan because of threats to him and his wife and his children. Police have removed his phone. He's under a deportation from Pakistan back to Afghanistan. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is so important for my constituent, and I have to say to the Minister in particular, Minister, my constituent has his friend, a soldier, has been forgotten about by this British government and by the Minister, and because of that I have to make a plea for him, because he isn't covered within this legislation.
I thank him, and he's quite right to point this out in the way that he has. And it's been further reported in The Independent, an Afghan intelligence analyst who worked alongside members of the RAF but has been threatened with removal to Rwanda. He says, and I quote, "I call on the Prime Minister and the Government to stand by the promise made during the fall of Kabul. If the legal ways, such as ARAP and ACRS, were actually working, people like me wouldn't have to wait for years just for a response and wouldn't be forced into taking a small boat to come to the UK. Being in limbo is nothing but a waste of the UK's resources. I have skills to contribute to the UK's economy and tax system, but I have to rely on Home Office help because I cannot work." There are thousands in his position. I further had an email from a person who emails me quite regularly. I don't know if this person ever gets a response from the ARAP email that he emails and the other people that he copies into this. But I see these emails that come in and I read these emails that come in. And I think it's in tribute to Syed, who is constantly seeking some safety, that I would read this. He says, "You caused me to miss the evacuation flights. Why should I be in this situation? It's all because of you. I can't endure it anymore. I am tired and I'm faced with so many challenges. It happened several times today that I had to stop myself with difficulty, crying in the middle of the street. Everyone was looking at me. I cannot endure it anymore." And these are the people that have been left behind by this bill and now left behind by the Labour Party, who would not press this amendment yet further. Moving to the remaining amendment that we have, from all the amendments that we have. I'm sorry, am I boring the members opposite? Do they want to pop back out to the Prime Minister's office and have some drinks instead of listening to the important cases being put in this debate? They care so little. What we are asking, and
Order. I'm just anxious
honourable lady addresses the amendment in front of us. Alison Thewliss.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I am addressing the amendment in front of us. Now, what this amendment seeks to do is a very small concession to this place. That this place here should have some kind of scrutiny over whether Rwanda remains a safe country. The folk over on the benches opposite were all about taking back control, but when it comes to scrutiny of the treaties and the obligations we're signing up to, they couldn't give a hoot. It's quite clear.
Exactly.
Now, all that we are asking for in this amendment, all that the Lords are asking for in this amendment, is that some assurances now and in the future that there will be scrutiny as to whether Rwanda is indeed a safe country.
Yeah.
That is not asking too much. Now, what I would like to know from the government is they say that they will be ready to remove people in 10 to 12 weeks, and the government has said that Rwanda will be safe when the treaty is in force. So can I ask, will all the matters of implementation be in force in 10 to 12 weeks? Will the policies be in place in 10 to 12 weeks? Will the staff be in place in 10 to 12 weeks? Will the judges be in place in 10 to 12 weeks? Will the lawyers be in place in 10 to 12 weeks? Will the appeals system be in place in 10 to 12 weeks? Will all of these things be there? Will the accommodation be there in 10 to 12 weeks? Because we know they've already sold it off. And what airline company have they contracted to remove people in 10 to 12 weeks? Because they have been extremely unclear about whether they even have an airline company, and they have not told us that. This House deserves to know, because we are not going to get the opportunities again to scrutinise the government on whether or not the Rwanda Treaty is actually being implemented. And I think that's the very least that this House should be able to do, to be able to keep a check on the government and on future governments as to whether or not they are fulfilling the obligations that they carried out. Because we know that even when this treaty was being negotiated, that Rwanda were engaging in refoulement of people. So if that was happening when the treaty was being negotiated, is it still happening now? Can the Minister give any assurances that Rwanda is not refouling people right now? And if he cannot come to the dispatch box and give that assurance, we should not be passing these we should not be rejecting these Lords' amendments and approving this bill this evening. This bill has been very unusual in the number of Lords' amendments that we have had, Madam Deputy Speaker. I've never seen the like. Now, I don't believe in the House of Lords. It's a principal position of the SNP not to send people to an unelected chamber. But this Westminster system is broken when the supposed revising chamber has been ignored throughout the entire process of this bill. A revising chamber is supposed to be allowed to revise, but yet this government has ignored every single reasonable amendment that the House of Lords has made. It's exactly the same as when the bill is introduced as when it will come out of this process. And this elected House has absolutely no mandate for this bill. It was in no manifesto, the Prime Minister does not have a mandate for it, and this House has no business approving, and I support the Lords in rejecting it. Madam Deputy Speaker, this bill is not a deterrent. It has not been a deterrent. Nothing they have done has been a deterrent. It will not work. It will pile misery on top of people who have already suffered incredible trauma that the folk crowing in the benches opposite cannot even imagine. It does not happen in Scotland's name, and we will vote against it on every opportunity we will get.
Absolutely. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. Like I said, I can listen to Alison all day. The one thing that's for sure, the Tories don't like it up and do they? And what's more satisfying than magnificently sticking it right up to the Tories? Sticking it brilliantly right up to the Tories twice in one day. Fantastic. Well done, Alison Thewliss. Only downside is that the bill was voted through because our Prime Minister showed how democracy really worked by locking the Lords in until they voted for how he wanted them to vote. That's democracy for you. But anyway, hope my wonderful friends up in Scotland, and you all know who you are, I really hope you all enjoyed Alison Thewliss explain the reason why you guys have so much contempt for this Parliament. And I will just bid you farewell and take care, my friends.